Okay, today's text from the book of 6, Anguttara Nikaya, the numerical discourses, Sutta number 3, faculties. Bhikkhus, possessing 6 qualities, a bhikkhu is worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of reverential salutation, and unsurpassed field of merit for the world. Part 6. So this is the same as the previous one, except that here it's talking about 6 different faculties. Yeah. So what 6? The faculty of faith, the faculty of energy, the faculty of mindfulness, the faculty of concentration, the faculty of wisdom, and with the destruction of the taints, he has realized for himself, with direct knowledge in this very life, the taintless liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom, and having entered upon it, he dwells in it. Possessing these 6 qualities, a bhikkhu is worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of reverential salutation, and unsurpassed field of merit for the world. So the 6 qualities are not all faculty. The first 5 are actually the 5 faculties, also known as the 5 roots. Yeah, 心静念定慧. So the 5 faculties. So this the way my teacher described, there are actually 2 parts, 根跟力. So faculty would be more towards the what do you call that, roots or 根. Yeah. So meaning is that you are still cultivating. Then 力, then sometimes translated as powers. Yeah. So my teacher explained, so what's the difference between the 2? Because 五跟五力, they are the same thing. Yeah, they are the same set of 5. Yeah, 心静念定慧. The difference is, at the stage of 根, you are still cultivating. Yeah, so you are still practicing it. You may have some faith, you may have little faith or more faith. But when it comes to power, 力, then it means that it has reached maturity. Yeah. So, for example, if you have reached the maturity for faith, then it means you have eradicated doubt. Yeah. If you have reached maturity for effort, then you have eradicated the defilement of slackness, yeah, and so on. Also, the key distinction is that when you have reached lead or power, then it has ability to eradicate the defilements. So here, in this case, faculty, yeah, the 5 faculties, and then plus the number 6, which is that he has direct knowledge, yeah, the taintless liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom. Yeah, so it means he has attained enlightenment. This is also quite high standard. Okay, that's all I have for today for this one. The next sutta is actually on powers. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Well, 根力, faculty and power. Yeah. Okay, any questions? Marcel?
Okay, Shifu, I will case 1 from Slido.
Okay. Lie asks, I find the explanation on the 5 aggregates confusing, especially the differences between the aggregates, as well as how the aggregates lead to suffering. The 5 aggregates. I don't know what which explanation you have read or heard of. about the five aggregates?
It's I think it's called what the Buddha thought. I can't
Oh,
remember but
okay.
I can't remember what really she said when I was reading. I think I just got confused about. I don't have the book with me, so I cannot refer to it. But something about, the way he explains the different, like the feelings, perceptions, and the consciousness, I just find like, cannot really get it.
Oh, that's the book by Venerable Rahula Wapola. Yeah, what the Buddha taught. As far as I recall, his explanation more or less go along with the sutta, but maybe it's the expression. I don't know. So you find it confusing, huh? Maybe we can relate to it this way. The first thing is that the five aggregates, aggregates for a start is not one thing. Aggregates is, the word aggregate, the aggregation of things, right? So it's not one thing, but many things. The Pali term kanda, Sanskrit term skanda, actually, in some of the explanation, it says that it can be translated as a heap of things. Yeah. So it's a heap of things, not one thing, not two things. So five aggregates is not five things. It's five collections of things, five aggregation of things. So then we can look at it and say, out of the five, the first is physicality, and the next four is mental constructs. Okay, so the first one, if we talk about individuals, then is more pertaining the physical body. But form itself, by itself, refers to a larger set, which is our physical body plus physical things outside. Basically all physical things. Yeah. So rupa, form, Chinese we translate as shi. The form actually is more like visible form, visible form. Yeah. Any question on this part? Okay. Yeah, not okay can say not okay because that's the whole point of explaining. Form should be clear. Yeah. So then the second part, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, they are basically mental constructs. Yeah. And the subsequent mental constructs can be further looked at in terms of, so although it goes from form, feelings, perception, and so on, right? So the subtlest is consciousness. Okay, yeah, the subtlest can be said to be consciousness. So let's start from there. So what is consciousness? Consciousness is basically the mind functioning, being aware. Yeah, but the awareness can have different levels and degrees, but they always arise because of sense-based and sense object. Without sense-based sense object, the consciousness cannot arise. So let's say I with physical form or visual form, the I and the visual form, sense-based sense object as condition, then sense consciousness, the I consciousness arise. Okay, yeah. So this I consciousness is just aware that there is visual things, yeah, that there's something visual. Through the eye, it knows that there's something visual, but it cannot discriminate. It cannot think about it. It doesn't have a name for it also. Yeah. So that function is relegated to perception. Yeah. But before perception arrives, when sense-based sense object and sense faculty arise and come together, this coming together is called contact. Yeah. You can look at it another way, that when the mind is in contact with base sense object, then it's called contact, of course. Yeah. So this contact becomes the basis for the arising of feelings. Here, feelings is not emotional feelings, but the raw experience. Yeah. So the raw experience in terms of whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, whether it's painful or not painful. So the moment you open your eyes, you see that there's colors. Yeah, there's a different visual form that you can see. That's the eye consciousness. But before you even think what is it you see, or even have names, red color, blue color, and so on, there's a certain sensation. Yeah, most of the time it's quite neutral. Yeah. But if it's strong light, it can be a bit uncomfortable. Yeah. Likewise, for ears with sound, nose with smell, tongue with taste, body with touch. And then the last one is a bit interesting because mind with mental objects. Yeah. So the mental objects can be about things in the past, things about future, or things in the present. So, but besides triggering from the contact, it can arise feelings. From the contact, it can also give rise to perception. Yeah. So perception in Chinese is translated as xiang. Feelings translated as shou. More correctly, it is that Vedana is translated as shou. So kan shou the shou. So not 情绪. 情绪 is emotions. So then what about xiang? So Chinese we translate as xiang. So the word xiang covers a broad range, whereas perception, words being words, sometimes when we associate with a certain word, then we think it's only this. Yeah. So, but in the text, when we talk about sanya, yeah, perception, it includes the process of coming up with names, yeah, labeling, the process of labeling what you have encountered in the mind. And through the mind, you encounter the five senses and whatever is in your mind, and then you have the labeling process. Labeling here is not saying, oh, I call this red, I call this blue. It's just that the mind immediately attach words to whatever you perceive. Yeah. So this process commonly translated as perception, but in some of the commentary is also translated as ideation. Yeah. So the process of forming ideas. Yeah. And for ideas to exist, you need to have names. Yeah. Labels. Yeah. So this whole process, yeah, in Chinese encompass under xiang. But the contact process don't just give rise to these two. It can also give rise to other mental processes. So number 4, we can say that is mental formation, or we can say that it is volition formation. So, and the reason is because the term is sankhara. Sankhara actually by itself is just formations. Yeah. But what is formations? Basically anything that arises due to condition. Which then means that when we talk about sankhara by itself, it actually refers to all conditioned phenomena, including body and mind, including all the conditional things. Yeah. But within the context of the 5 aggregates, because physical things is already covered under form, so sankhara usually then is the scope is a bit more focused. Yeah. And because other mental processes are also sankhara actually, if you think about it, right? Because they are also fabrications, right? Feelings is also fabrications, perception also, consciousness, all these are just fabrications. Yeah. But because they are already delineated, so the Sankara is strictly just including everything else that is not included in the rest. But in particular, one particular mental formation that is often highlighted in the suttas is volition formation or cetana. Yeah. So this is where after you come into contact with things, whether external things or in your mind, and then you form words, form ideas, you start to think about it, you start to have different opinion about it, you start to, and you of course have the different experience of it, sensation of it. At some point, you may have a certain intent arise. Yeah, intend to do this, intend to do that. So that would be under volition. Yeah. So if you look at the sutta, the description is about up to this point. So if we look at the Abhidhamma, the commentaries, then it highlight other mental states. Yeah, you notice that these 5 don't really cover emotions, right? So then where is emotion parked? So I've shared this in other talks before. Some variables say it's under feeling, some say it's under perception, some say it's under volition formation, yeah, or under a mental formation. But if you look at the commentaries, mostly tuck under mental formation. But at the end of the day, then when we take a step back and look at this collection of these 5 aggregates, right? What is the purpose that the Buddha gave teachings on this? Yeah, is it for us to become psychologists? Yeah, is it for us to become some kind of scholar? Yeah, what is it? So if you look at all the teachings that touches on the 5 aggregates, it was to highlight to us, it was to get whoever is listening to consider the very nature of these 5. Yeah, because these 5 is what we identify with very strongly. We identify with these 5 or certain subset of these 5, or collectively together, or we even give this collection an identity called me. Yeah, and then we even give this me a name. And in so many ways, we identify with them. And so in all the suttas regarding the 5 aggregates, you will find that the Buddha would want to highlight the very nature of these 5 things, and to get people to relook at these 5 things and say, is it the way we consciously or unconsciously relate to it? And so then he will ask, he will teach in the form of questions. He will ask the monks or whoever is in the sutta, he will ask, is form permanent or impermanent? Is form permanent? And the monks will reply, it's impermanent. Then he will ask, is form which is impermanent subject to change? Then they will reply, is subject to change. It makes sense so far. Then he will ask, is form that is impermanent and subject to change, subject to suffering? Yeah. So does it lead to suffering? So then this is where maybe it's a bit tricky, but they seem to just reply, yes, it's subject to suffering. So the thing is, the impermanence itself, impermanence itself, because of the transientness, because of the fact that the change is not within our control. So you don't know when it's going to change. number one. And you don't even know how it's going to change. And most importantly, when it changes, not according to our wishes. Sometimes it happens to coincide with our wishes, and then we are quite happy. And it gives us a false sense of control. And that's basically the problem, actually. So what the Buddha was doing is basically to highlight to us this nature, that this change, this impermanence, has this nature, has this feature, yeah, that is conducive to suffering. And then the monks quite directly just say, yes, it's subject to suffering. Yeah, something that is always changing, something that's like that is subject to suffering. Then the Buddha asks a final question: is something that is impermanent, subject to change, subject to suffering, worthwhile for you to consider, to identify as me, as mine, or myself? Yeah, and that is ultimately the aim, to get people to understand the nature, and then to ask themselves, if it's something that's changing beyond your control, is it still befitting for you to identify as you? Yeah. And ultimately, to do all this for what? It's because our identification, the way we relate to the aggregates, doesn't conform, doesn't fit in with reality. And so over time, we have a tendency to become disappointed, to have our hopes and dreams shattered. Not that we consciously think our body is permanent, yeah, but unconsciously, the way we experience this aggregate seems to be permanent. And so unconsciously, we expect it to continue to persist. Yesterday was like this, today is like this, tomorrow it should still continue to be like this. Yeah, we have this unspoken, unconscious expectation. Yeah, starting from the perception, and then leading to expectation. But if expectation is in line with what is to come, no problem. The trouble is it's not. And depending on how big the difference is, then you suffer more. And depending on how strong you hold on to it and not accept that it's different from reality, then the longer you suffer. Yeah. So all the Buddha was trying to do was to get us to see this gap, and to help us through various means gradually narrow this gap until one day we see things as they are. Then our perception and expectation is in line with reality. Then no matter how things go, we wouldn't be disappointed. We wouldn't be surprised. We wouldn't suffer over it. And that's something very key. Not that, once you realize the way things are, then everything will just fall into place, that things will just be smooth and everything. No. It just means that when things don't so-called go well, you also know it should not go well. It is just the way it is. Yeah, nothing personal in a way. Yeah.
Thank you, Shifu.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'll need to go and digest it a bit more. So.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you are able to, if we are not you, not your, but if we are able to fully digest it, then it will become, and minimally you'll attain Sotapanna. Yeah. If completely, thoroughly, to see it, experience it, then Arahant. Danny says, Shifu, the Tibetan tradition speaks of bare awareness. Is this same or different as consciousness in the Five Aggregates? The term bare awareness is used by many traditions. And within the Tibetan tradition, it may be used in slightly different contexts. So there are two possible contexts. One is in terms of consciousness pertaining to the first five consciousness. Because the first five consciousness only have bare awareness. Yeah. The sixth consciousness is capable of bare awareness plus discrimination. Yeah. Or plus discrimination. So that's one usage that I know of. Another usage of bare awareness is in terms of the practice of meditation. Yeah, where they do the signless meditation or objectless meditation. So whatever object arises in the mind, they just have bare awareness. Yeah. So this is somewhat related to mindfulness practice. Yeah, somewhat related. Yeah. I think especially in modern times, because of the cross-pollination, yeah, like, because nowadays it's not uncommon for different teachers of different traditions to also be exposed to different traditions. Yeah, and I think having a common language really helps. Yeah, and as more practitioners and teachers see the similarities, then it becomes easier for us to embrace the different practices and see how they work together. Yeah. So this is, as far as I know, in the Tibetan tradition, how the term bare awareness is used. Yeah. So in one case, it will be similar to the consciousness as far as the first five consciousness is concerned. Okay. Okay. All right. So have a aware day ahead. 愿消三障诸烦恼，
愿消三障诸烦恼，
愿得智慧真明了，
愿得智慧真明了，
普愿罪障悉消除，
普愿罪障悉消除，
世世常行菩萨道。
世世常行菩萨道。
阿弥陀佛。Till we meet again, may be guarded and protected by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And as always, have a aware day ahead, or awareness day ahead. Yeah, take your pick. All right, take care, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, 师父。谢谢师父，拜拜。师父，拜拜。
Bye, Lama.
Thank you, bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.